Welcome back. All right, so I think that the Oilers and the struggles they've been having are now video worthy. And it's 6 games. Like it's been a couple of weeks, so it's not just it's a one-off. And it looked like it was at the beginning, but now it's a trend. So I've got a red line here between where I think they had a pretty good game and they lost it, and then the other 5 that followed. So they lost against Seattle 4-3, and it was an electrifying finish to that game, and they did everything they could except tie the game, right? Everything pointed to Edmonton should win this game, and they didn't. They go 1 for 4 in the power play, Seattle 0 for 4, so the penalty kill's working. The power play, 1 for 4 is a little low for Edmonton, who were flirting with 50% early in the season. Unsustainable. And I kept saying that, and other fans kept saying, and they're still doing it. I kept saying, but it's not sustainable through a full 82-game season. Draisaitl and McDavid both had a goal and an assist in that game. So, both of them are playing well. And again, it's one loss, right? They're 16-6. So there's no reason to worry at 16-6. But they go home, they play against LA, and it was either a poor game by Edmonton or it was a complete dominating game by the Kings. The Kings win this one 5-1. And again, the LA Kings, I think that was their best game of the season, bar none. Now, the Oilers go 0 for 2 on the power play, LA 3 for 5. That's alarming. You're not supposed to have a team go 3 for 5 against the Oilers. The Oilers, their power play gets all of the notice, but their penalty kill is usually pretty solid too. So they were outshot 40-22 by the Kings. Yeah, the Kings came in and laid it on them. McDavid and Draisaitl shut out in that game, and the frustration for McDavid and Draisaitl starts there. So then they lose 4-1 against Minnesota. The most alarming thing in that is they go 0 for 5 on the power play. So, over 2 games, they were 0 for 7. Minnesota goes 1 for 2. That's the second straight game where their opposition has better special teams numbers than they do, which, again, is unheard of with the Oilers early in the year. They outshot the Wild 39-26, but Cam Talbot's the first star. He played a great game. And this is something struggling teams do, too. They run into a goaltender that's playing well, and they can't figure out how to solve him. They can't do it. And the Oilers have had that problem night after night. So you end up with goaltenders being consistently first, second, or third star of the opposing team. And it reflects on the fact that your team just hasn't figured out how to solve these goaltenders. Which, again, at this point in the season, it is odd to see a team go into this kind of a slump. Now, against Boston, much like the Seattle game, it felt like Edmonton should have won this one, right? But Boston comes out with a 3-2 victory. This is where special teams favor the Oilers, not Boston. 2 for 5 for the Oilers in this game. Boston goes 1 for 3. So, overall, the Oilers had a decent game. But this is where the interesting conversation comes in. So they're 2 for 5 on the power play. Nothing 5-on-5. They had 3 goals against Seattle. One of them's on the power play, so you have to think 2 of those are 5-on-5. I'm not counting shorthanded goals. For this video, I didn't look at shorthanded goals. But they have 9 goals during this losing streak. So if they only have a few goals on the power play, they've only got 6 at most, because I'm not counting shorthanded goals. They have 6 at most 5-on-5 goals in 6 games. Simply does not get it done. You can mask that by having an excellent power play where you're 2 for 3 every night, but when that power play dries up, or when you're against a team that's just not allowing very much, as Boston did that night, that's a problem. Now, they did outshoot Boston 43-30, but as I stated before, you have to look at shot quality, and you have to look at the fact that they're just making goaltenders look fantastic right now. They really are. And it continued against Carolina. Although Carolina had a bit of an easier time. Carolina came in with a game plan here. Now, the Oilers go 0 for 2 on the power play. Carolina goes 1 for 2. And the Oilers recorded a grand total of 4 shots in the second period of that game because Carolina was playing a smothering style and they were just faster. They were better to the pucks. The transition game, the speed game is huge in the National Hockey League now. If you have a team that is a little bit behind on the foot speed than other teams you're up against, you will very likely lose because of the speed and the transition in the game. And while some teams, like Florida, started running into trouble now, but Carolina, they're still one of the best teams in the league. I think Florida is still going to find a way out of the slump they're in, and transition and speed are really the name of the game. So if the Oilers can't keep up, I mean, they have McDavid, who's one of the fastest skaters, period, But if the rest of their team can't keep up with that, that's going to be a problem. Nugent Hopkins, the lone goal scorer in that game against Carolina. So they controlled McDavid, they controlled Draisaitl, and they took him down. Then last night against the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Leafs win 5-1. And so Leaf fans are going to take some victory laps on this. And you know what? They earned it. The Oilers go 0 for 2 on the power play. So they've had 2 power plays 3 times in the last 5 games. They are not getting the number of power plays you want. And Toronto goes 1 for 3. So Toronto wins the special teams battle, as Carolina did, as Minnesota did, as LA did. 4 of the last 5 games, the other team has performed better at special teams than the Oilers. Now, they outshot Toronto 36-25. Well, what did I say? They're making the other goaltender look great. Jack Campbell had a very good game, right? Sevier, though, has the lone goal. McDavid was frustrated during this game. You can see that it's starting to get to the Oilers, that this run of bad luck and just not getting the results is starting to hit him pretty hard. Now, Mike Smith might be coming back. Now, goaltending hasn't been the problem, but they are overplaying Mikko Koskinen. Is that affecting how the rest of the team's playing? I don't know that I can get there because, again, they're out shooting the other teams. They're getting shots. I do question the quality of said shots, and you look at McDavid with 3 assists in the last 5 games, that's a problem. Draisaitl, 2 goals. So he has 2 points in the last 2 games. Both of those goals are against Boston. So Draisaitl in the other 4 games, no points. He's been missing empty nets. He's clearly fighting it right now. And it is one of those things that it can take a while to come out of that. They could come out of it the next game. People could come back to this video in a week, as they do with other videos, and say, well, this didn't age well. The videos that I do are during a losing streak. I don't say, okay, so here's where the Oilers are at. And by the way, 2 weeks from now, this will all be forgotten. I don't have, my psychic abilities are still in development, so I'm not there yet. And then you look at the depth scoring, and this is where there's a problem. Yamamoto, no points. Yamamoto, whether you expected 20 goals from him, whether you expected 30 assists from him, 40 points, whatever you expected, it's not there. Puljujarvi, a goal and an assist. I like Puljujarvi a lot. I don't think Puljujarvi ever reaches the heights that were expected of him when he was drafted. Tyson Barrie, 3 assists. Barrie kind of proving that he doesn't necessarily need McDavid and Draisaitl for his scoring as much, but yeah, he's a power play guy, and I don't know that he's a guy who can take over a game either. Kassian, 1 assist. Now, people will say, well, Zach Kassian's not expected to do much scoring-wise, but he's paid a lot of money. And Kassian being paid a lot of money, he's had top 6 ice time. There was a time recently where he was partnered with McDavid, which I thought was odd, but yeah, he's 1 assist. Darnell Nurse, a goal and an assist for him. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, a goal and an assist as well. Early in the season, Nugent-Hopkins was scoring an average of an assist per game. Absolutely ridiculous totals from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. They are not getting the depth that they need when it comes to the scoring. Koskinen is 0-4. His save percentage over the 4 games he started, 800, 903, 846, 875. Those numbers are not good enough either. Again, I think he's being overplayed with Smith out. I don't think there's a lot of faith in Skinner. Skinner's played the 1 game, he had a 900 save percentage. That was in the game against Boston. Boston scored 3 times on 30 shots. For whatever reason, Dave Tippett doesn't seem to want to play Skinner a lot, so Koskinen plays the other 4 games, and predictable results. But what's really alarming in this is the Oilers' power play over this run is, by my math, 3 for 20. Their opponents, 7 for 19. This is not sustainable when you're not scoring 5-on-5. And they're not scoring 5-on-5. They've been outscored during this run of games, including the Seattle game, 24-9. And so I really think this isn't going to stay like this, but they're 1 point above the playoff line right now. And they need to figure this out quickly. They need to turn it around. And with all the uncertainty right now, too, with the outbreaks and everything else going on, I'm not getting into the upcoming schedule because we just don't know what's going to happen with that. But I do wonder with Edmonton, like the Christmas break of a few days, maybe that helps, right? Maybe that helps reset some things, but it definitely seems like everything is off. Whether it's McDavid, Draisaitl, and their chemistry, and them being thrown together on a line here and there, is a sign of, it's like Chicago does with Taves and Kane. They're usually separated. When they're put together, that's called the nuclear option. When Edmonton's putting these guys together, it can be a sign that they're struggling to get goals and they have to do whatever it takes. So they put them together, usually with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, to try to force some goals into the net. And the difference is early in the season, it worked. Right now, it's not. And they need more. Guys that aren't even on the board, like Benson, they need more from. And there's been definitely, like Derek Ryan has been basically a disaster for them at this stage. That's one that I was name searching for. And just the depth guys, it's not been good enough. So it's on Ken Holland at this point to figure out a way to fix this. Zach Hyman's not on the board. I didn't really look Hyman up. I know he didn't play last night against Toronto. Hyman had a great start to the season. The scoring for him has kind of fallen off a bit too, because it has for everybody. I think early in the season, maybe people were overhyping a bit. Maybe myself included as well. I thought, hey, he could hit 40 goals. But he's still at least a 25 goal scorer, I would think, at the end of this season. They just need more. The Oilers need more. And I'm not sure where they're going to find it this season, but they need that. Because if things start to turn around and they start getting all kinds of scoring, it has to be the guys below Draisaitl and McDavid that are really putting it together too. Because otherwise the narrative that this team isn't deep enough for the playoffs will likely come true again. We'd see them out early in the playoffs, and then we're going through another summer of discussions of whether or not the Oilers have enough depth outside of the top guys. Which is too bad. It's too bad because I think there's some good parts to this roster. It's a matter of finding a way to put it all together right. And then that's where the comments about Dave Tippett may start to become more and more prominent. Is Dave Tippett the right coach for this team? Do they need a change? And when you look at the Vancouver turnaround under Bruce Boudreau, that may mean that other teams look and go, hey, you know what? And Philly's turned it around since Vigneault went out too. So, and of course the Hawks have a better record since Colleton left. So, right? So that's definitely there. We have seen in past season teams that are above the playoff line make a change behind the bench. Does it eventually get there? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happen upon this video. And I guess the question I have is, when do they turn it around and how do they turn it around? Does Mike Smith coming back make all the difference? Let me know your thoughts. I'll talk to you again soon.